The Art of Happiness by Molly Fennig. Narrated by Cram. Cataly Portman lasts 4 days and 6 hours before you coax her into the crate and drive her back to Forever Friends Cat Rescue. She stays silent, even when Who Let the Dogs Out blasts on the radio, and you know it's another sign that she's not the right one, even though 4 days and 6 hours is the record. And Forever Friends says 23 cats is too many to try out for adoption, and maybe you should go somewhere else for the next one. 5B isn't any quieter without the ghost of a cat, but it feels like it is. More emptiness and lifeless than normal. You take off your Yankees cap, run your fingers through uneven brown hair, pull sweatpants over ratty basketball shorts, letting out an exhale. Enough air for you and everyone not there. Like one, Mom, probably at knitting club or doing power yoga, even though she hates both because they're better than being in the ivy-covered brownstone on 155th in case Dad is there. 2, Dad, probably yelling at some intern about how not refilling the paper clips reflects a deep personality flaw and reveals her utter incompetence, not letting her squeak out that it was Hannah's turn that day. And 3, Erin. Oh, Erin. You hope she is thinking of you, wondering where you are, pink iPhone in her hand, about to text you, beg you to come back to her. The biting wind and February frost almost convince you to curl up on the bed, sleep through another Sunday, wrapped up in fuzzy blankets and Snickers wrappers. But you know your therapist Jenna will know you skipped coming in because it was a bad day. Not because you had to go to brunch or the dentist or Zimbabwe. She'll tell you again that socializing and leaving the house are the best ways to actively fight and distract yourself and feel better. You don't understand how feeling numb outside is much better than feeling numb in bed, warm and cozy. You remember the first day you went into her office, through halls made of glass, spending 6.5 minutes walking to the door, reaching your hand out, dropping it, and stepping away. Finally, going in after the short girl with dark braids and purple lips. Sitting on the waiting room couch that was so plush, you sunk down and couldn't have left even if you changed your mind, which you were sure you were about to. Following the tall, blonde Jenna into the small beige room with a bookcase, a low black couch facing 2 windows, and a single orange chair. She tells you it's normal to be lonely, but that most people occasionally have other emotions. You say you do have other emotions. She says sadness doesn't count. You don't say anything. Because neither Prozac or Parnate or Cymbalta or Paxil or the Elavil worked, and most left you awake, staring at the ceiling as the clock ticked 2, 3, 5 a.m., dizzy and headachy, gaining weight, feeling guilty all the time because you couldn't get out of bed, didn't want to do anything but sleep, not even watch TV, which was saturated with too much romance that sent you into thoughts about Erin and every mistake you made. Every perfect moment together. The weight of missing her pushing tears and sobs out of you until you hyperventilate. Heart pounding. Can't breathe. Why can't you breathe? What if this is your last breath and no one finds you for days and oh my gosh, you're going to die? Can't breathe, can't breathe, can't breathe. Jenna asks about Cataly Portman. Suggests you try another cat. Reminds you to exercise, eat healthy. You feel the comforting weight of the Snickers bar in your jacket pocket. Can't wait for the 55-minute session to be over so you can sink your teeth into it. Decide that maybe 23 cats mean the cats aren't the problem and maybe they aren't the cure you're looking for. Jenna asks for the happy list, where you're supposed to write down all the things that you appreciate that make you happy. 1. Fuzzy blankets when the apartment gets chilly at night. 2. Homemade Oreo cupcakes. You don't write down that you ate all 12 in one sitting. 3. Sleep. 4. Blue flowers in the window display on 96th. 5. Not having to live with Dad anymore. 5 for 1 week is a lot, at least for you, even though Jenna doesn't count sleep, since it's an unactivity. As you reach the 50th minute, Jenna asks you to try for 6 next week, to do at least 2 things besides going to work and getting groceries and looking at cats. When you get back to the apartment, you microwave a cup of macaroni, eat it sitting on the white marble countertop. The Great British Bake Off on in the background until you've finished, and the remaining pasta is cold. And you've been staring at the bubbling blue paint above the stove for so long, your eyes sting from dryness. You move to the plain green couch in the living room that is only slightly more forgiving than the floor. Stare at the bookshelf that takes up an entire wall. Art and art history and art theory, and the rest random. Old library books you brought because you felt like you should have more. And they were only $1 each, maybe 2. Stare at the ceiling fan that starts on its own. Don't get up to turn it off when it does. Just watch the dusty white blades spin around and around and around, and lift the top sheet of the empty easel in the corner, whose paintbrushes you threw away one Saturday in May. It only takes you 3 hours to fall asleep that night, and you arrive at work a mere 20 minutes late. Your boss, Gerald, says nothing, just tightens his pink checkered tie and pushes his wire rim glasses farther onto his face, like he always has since you dropped the orange bottle one Thursday and he picked it up, read Zoloft, handed it back. You do decent enough work and don't cause too much trouble, and with the number of college grads with advertising degrees declining, it's not worth searching for someone to replace you. You could quit too, but you've read enough pamphlets and self-help books to know big life decisions like that shouldn't be made during a depressive episode. So you're probably never going to work anywhere else. You wish you knew before you got the job, armed with an art major and $2,000, the latter being the more useful of the two, that co-assistant art director at Reach Agency was code for thousands of boring odd jobs where the most exciting is deleting spam email, rather than stepping stone to being a famous artist or at least someone who doesn't spend half the day looking for ways to skip work tomorrow. Jenna says it's good to hate work, or at least to have hate as an emotion. You say it's not hate so much as indifference. Jenna doesn't say anything. After work, you stop at Forever Homes Shelter. Not because you want to be out of the house, nor have the 24th cat not work out, but because you don't want to have to spend so much time in the silent apartment. A large lady with a pink ruffled shirt, caked on blush, and a pushed-in pug nose leads you to the back. Most of the cats are easy to walk past, except one. Fuzz Aldrin, 8 months. Fluffy gray, the color of your dog growing up, who succumbed to cancer because he was exhausted by trying to keep you happy and safe, but there were too many tears to lick off. Too many dinners sprinkled with stale silence. A cup of contempt. Too many people yelling, and sharp words that shattered inside you. Too far down to be fixed by a cuddle, a game of fetch. You leave without Fuzz, even though he has everything you want from a cat. And maybe, just maybe, he could make you smile. You pick up the newspaper at the apartment entrance, recycle everything except the classifieds next to the elevator, scan it as the elevator ascends. Photographer wanted. Artist wanted. Quit your job, it tells you. You recycle that section too. Since you know Jenna won't count the Great British Bake Off as one of the 2 weekly activities, you decide to make brownies. Dark chocolate with chocolate chips, the kind Mom used to bring to church and to potlucks as proof that you were one of those normal families that functioned enough to have time to bake. Your phone buzzes. You drop the metal teaspoon when you see it's from Aaron. Hey, do you still have my Harvard sweatshirt? You wonder what this is code for. I miss you and want you back? We never should have broken up. I still hate you. You also wonder if she knows you used to sleep with that sweatshirt every night, at least until it stopped smelling like her. Detergent and warm salt water. I think so. Cool. Can I come get it? I'm in the city Saturday. Yeah, of course. As soon as you realize you've hit the send button, the floor gets shaky and you drop the mixing bowl, which shatters into thousands of pieces, and all you can think is, fuck! You pick up Fuzz Aldrin 2 hours later, just as the shelter is closing, just in case he can cure you by Saturday. He doesn't leave the plastic crate for 30 minutes, just stares at you in your polka dot boxers, tilts his head, wiggles his whiskers. Just as you think, at least it'll be easier to take him back if he never gets out, Fuzz stumbles onto the stained blue carpet. At first he's quiet, like Cataly, just sitting on the floor of the queen bed and staring at you, eyes glowing in the dark as you try to go to sleep. You roll over, trying not to feel him watching. A minute passes. A warm ball of fur spins in circles just below your bent knee, lies down, and you learn what it's like to fall asleep on a pillow that is dry and unseasoned. No salt or sadness, just a blanket of purrs, a few soft twitches. You almost feel rested when your alarm clock goes off, the sun peeling back the darkness. Fuzz is still sleeping when you slip out the front door, but you leave a bowl of what he will consider a delicacy and what you consider mush. When you go to the kitchen for burnt, overbrewed coffee at lunchtime, you say hi to Bree in HR, instead of lowering your head and studying the peeling laminate tiles like you usually do. She smiles, and you wonder if happiness would have the same shine as her eyes. Gerald lets you leave half an hour early, perhaps as a reward for showing up on time. So you take the B and walk 19 minutes to the Metropolitan Museum of Art, where you spend 20 minutes in front of Madonna and Child by Duccio, wondering if you could have painted something remotely similar had you not given up on your paintbrushes for a 9-to-5 black suit. You write the museum in your journal as one of the weekly activities. Add getting off of work early to the list of good things, and make your way back towards the subway. Past the woman in athleisure holding twins, one strapped to her front, one to her back. Past the couple holding hands, despite the icy wind, her dark curly hair peeking out from a purple hat. Past the man in a trench coat over a blue suit, hair slicked back, phone to his ear, briefcase in one hand. You have almost forgotten why you stopped coming to the Met and getting off at 81st Street. But the crooked shutters high above the street have not forgotten. Have not forgotten the stillness. Erin's coconut shampoo, her lips. Good night, whispered, a question, an invitation. 1 year and 16 days later. a fact. The shutters remind you in whispers all the way home. Past 69th and 116th, up the narrow sidewalk, broken up by squares of dirt sprouting dead trees, tufts of grass, up 5 floors in the jerking elevator, through the doorway where Fuzz sits, head still turned slightly to the right, admiring the pile of smashed cups on the hardwood in front of him. The one you bought when you and Aaron went to D.C. in March, with a black and white picture of the Washington Monument that you liked, and she thought was overly dramatic. The blue one, printed with Starry Night, that she gave you on your birthday, along with a bottle of whiskey and dinner at ASO. The one with rainbow lettering. World's best dad. That you thought was a joke until you knew it wasn't. And then it was too late, because the baby, or the fetus, or the cells decided to stop living that Saturday night while Aaron was dreaming. And maybe it was your fault for not wanting it more. Fuzz looks at you, proud of the mess, and you wonder how he knew to only break those 3. You give him an extra big scoop of mush, scratch him behind the ears, throw away the fragments of what used to be your life. Mom calls at 7 because Tuesdays are golf nights and Dad won't be home. Not that him being there not changes how she talks. How are you? She asks, which is code for, should I be worried? And are you feeling suicidal? And because you've had this conversation more than any other, you know to reply, doing well, which means doing poorly, but not enough to burden you with it more than you already worry, although I'm not sure if you do worry because we never really talk about it. You mention that Gerald let you off early for good behavior, and she mentions that Becky from yoga invited her for cocktails, and you both agree those are great things. How great it is that you are doing so great, and promise to talk again soon. You lay on the bed, diagonally, because you don't have to share it with anyone, and watch the clock count to 60 3 times. And even then, you don't have the strength to sit up, nonetheless stand, nonetheless try to quiet the voices and the memories and the numbness long enough to go to sleep. Fuzz yelps. You close your eyes, still not strong enough. A hiss. Deep and threatening, with a kitten-sized hint of fear. You force yourself up, strong enough or not. Grab the gray fleece blanket tied around your neck as you run into the living room. Fuzz launches himself at the newspaper page that is caught mercilessly in the gusts of the overhead fan that is ghost-possessed again, or cheaply wired, or both. You laugh, especially when Fuzz glares at you, and you try to hold on to the aching lightness. Maybe if you memorize it hard enough, you won't forget how to get this feeling back. You had every inch of Aaron memorized, though. Platinum blonde hair, parted on the right, over thin eyebrows. Blue eyes that hardened in a year and 16 days. Soft cheeks that lost their dimples in favor of a tightly clenched frown. The freckle on her neck that at the beginning tasted soft and sweet and at the end medicinal and forced, even before the miscarriage. And knowing all those things will not get you anything back. The baby, the happiness, her. While Fuzz continues to attack his prey, you pull your phone out. Pull up her contact, start a text. About Saturday. I won't be here to meet you, but I'll leave your sweatshirt at the front desk. Delete her number? Know that you can't delete her memories, although you probably wouldn't even if you could. Realize that if it took 24 cats to find Fuzz, it'll probably take at least as many girls to find the right one. decide that tomorrow would be a great day for some new mugs and some paintbrushes. This has been The Art of Happiness by Molly Fennig, narrated by Paul Cram. Text copyright Molly Fennig, 2021. Audio copyright Paul Cram, 2022. All rights reserved.